That's a memo. Now for the top story tonight. While the head of the IRS objects to the word target, one man who apparently did have a bullseye on his back is speaking out. Frank Vandersloot, an Idaho businessman, donated $1 million to help Mitt Romney. Well, after that, he was audited on 3 different occasions, running up nearly $100,000 in legal bills. Joining us now from Salt Lake City is Mr. Vandersloot. So we had you on a little more than a year ago after you donated to the Romney campaign. And the Obama campaign website began to hammer you. They put your name out there and all of this business. Let's start there. Then what happened?
Well, that morning, April 20th, 2012, that's when my life changed. I got a phone call from my son, and he said, "Dad, you got to look at this." And I went on the campaign's website, and sure enough, there it was. 8 of us, singled out of thousands of donors, saying 2 things about us. One thing they said was that the 8 of us had less than reputable records, and that we had been on the wrong side of the law, which certainly wasn't true for me, and I don't think was true for any of them.
So that was on the Obama campaign official website, right?
Yes, sir.
The smear of you. Okay. So then it gets out, and the far-left websites start to do what? Well,
the very same day we started seeing blog sites and so-called journalists started to repeat those messages about us and about me personally. Then I started losing customers at my business. We had hundreds of customers. Our emails lit up, our phone lines lit up, and all hell broke loose for us.
And when did the IRS appear?
Well, there was one thing that happened before the IRS came, and that is we found an investigator working for the Permanent Subcommittee of Investigations, or at least he said he was employed by them, snooping around the courthouse, Idaho Falls, Idaho courthouse, my hometown, for 3 days, asking questions about me personally and my personal background and digging into records. And then Kim Strassel came out and she said, "This is the president's enemies list." And then there was an outpouring of support for us. But
we don't know exactly who that man was who was nosing around in Idaho. We don't know exactly who he was.
Sure we do. Sure we know it. His name was Michael Wolf.
And he worked for whom?
Well, we don't know for sure who he worked for at the time.
I mean.
But
we don't know who he's connected to.
His website said he worked for the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations for the U.S. Senate.
Okay, but
so that's what it said at the time.
All right. So that looks like there's some guy trying to dig up dirt on you. But let's get to the IRS, which is most important.
Okay.
Then they come in when?
On let's see, 2 months later, on September 12th, 2012, I got my first letter of that we were going to be audited.
Had you ever been audited before?
One time in the last 30 years.
Okay. So you're audited by the IRS, and then I understand somebody else came in to look at your books as well?
Yes, I told you the date wrong. The date was in June that I got my first letter.
All right.
The second letter from the IRS was on September.
And was there another agency involved in looking at your finances as well?
Yes, the Department of Labor. So I got 2 audits on 2 notices of one notice of 2 audits in June, and then the Department of Labor, and then once again in September, the 3rd IRS audit.
Okay. So then there's 4 actions against you. Now it's almost a year later. Did any of those audits come up with anything?
No, sir.
Nothing.
Clean bill of health, no penalties, no fines, nothing.
They owe you money, I understand, right?
They owe me a large refund, yes. It's been held up. And they tell me it's coming. I should get it within the next 90 days.
Okay.
It's been held up for a long time.
But in order to defend you and your corporation, you had to spend $100,000 in legal fees. Are they going to reimburse that for you?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think that's part of it. It was about $80,000 in total that we spend on legal fees and accounting fees.
All right. So
to handle the audits.
Circumstantially, there's no question that you're a target because you gave money to Mitt Romney. That's what it seems like.
Well, here's the question. They chose 8 people. The president's campaign chose 8 people, I believe, to show what happens to donors to the Romney campaign. It had a big impact on me. It was chilling on the other people, too.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm hoping that they'll come forward and say what happened to them also.
You know what's going to happen now, Mr. Vandersloot? You're going to be called in front of a congressional committee to testify after they see this tonight. And, you know, we got to stop this. We can't have the IRS terrorizing American citizens for doing what they want to do legally in the political realm. You're a man of courage. We appreciate you standing up. If anything happens, any blowback toward you, any threats toward you, you let us know right away, and we'll follow the story, Mr. Vandersloot. We're sorry you had to go through it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the rundown, looks like the IRS will be in charge of enforcing the Obamacare provisions. Lou Dobbs will tell us about that. And then what about the folks? Do they really care about these scandals?
Do you know what happened that night in Benghazi?
No clue, man. I'm bad with current events.
We're coming right back. Lose the Boss segment tonight. A woman named Sarah Ingram has been appointed as the director of the IRS's Affordable Care Act office. That means she's in charge of making sure businesses comply with Obamacare, and if they don't, they could get fined. Some people are upset about this because of Ms. Ingram's background. Here now, Fox Business anchor Lou Dobbs. Before we get to Ms. Ingram, what about this Vandersloot? That's what this IRS story is all about.
Absolutely.
Individual Americans making a legal donation, and then all of a sudden, their personal lives are being investigated, and the IRS comes down the train, running $80 grand in legal fees up.
And the arrogance to bring, for the IRS to step in at whoever's behest. This is a man of resources. Vandersloot is not a working guy. He is a multimillionaire with great resources, accountants and attorneys, and they hammer him with IRS audits, Labor Department surveys. I mean, that's powerful intimidation.
But that is what the IRS story is all about.
Yes,
but if you ask Miller, I don't know anything about it. Nobody knows, Lou.
Steve Miller, I think Chairman Dave Camp of the Ways and Means Committee nailed it with him.
He nailed him, right?
This is a man of such arrogance. He knows he's beyond the power of the Congress. He told them basically, I'm not playing, I'm not talking, and I'm going to have to be forced to talk.
Well, he's going to jail, I think. I think there's a good chance he's indicted. All right, now this Ingram woman, should I be frightened or what?
Well, we should be very concerned that this president, acting contrite, acting outraged, and asking a man to leave his post 2 weeks early as director of the
But before he leaves, he's going to find out all the names.
Oh, yeah, he's going
to get everything.
He's going to have a refresher course in what happened while he was there.
Right.
She was actually the person in charge for much of the time in which these egregious acts were committed.
Well, how could she be in charge if Miller was in charge?
Well, Miller put her there. Schulman put her there.
Schulman
the previous
was the guy
director.
Before Miller.
Correct.
Okay. Put her where? Where was she? What was she doing?
The tax-exempt division, which was holding forth.
So she was running the tax-exempt division. All right, which is what the Tea Party and all of that were trying to gain, that kind of status, and she was running things.
And she was running that and running them off.
So she's, well, that's yours. You know, she's going to deny that.
I know that, but
so they take her. She's in the middle. She's up to here in this thing. You know what? Let's put her in front of the Obamacare stuff.
You know, that's a natural place. So you're exactly right. Because put her.
Let's make her more powerful.
And by the way, no one can come up with her title right now, but we do know she's in charge of the Affordable Care Act
enforcement.
Implementation.
Yeah, you gotta do it, or you can get fined by the IRS.
And if the president were going to fire some people, you would have thought the first person on the list
would be fired.
The person who was in charge. But no, they're trying to hang on to her. And
but I'm laughing because it just like I said in the Talking Points memo, it's just so ridiculous. Is it not?
It is
absurd?
It is absurd, and it's also though a absolute validation of every fear we ever had about what this administration's about. He was not being sincere, the president. He was not being contrite. He was hiding the person who is most culpable by all appearances in the chain of organization.
But he's not hiding her. He just promoted her so that O'Reilly and Dobbs are making her segment B on the Factor.
Exactly.
That's it.
And guess what? Dave Camp and Speaker Boehner are going to make her Exhibit A in the investigations of the IRS going forward.
To me, the whole thing, doesn't seem to be any coordination here. You would think that, well, maybe we don't put her in charge because she's going to have all her own problems. We get someone else.
Yeah, that didn't work out that way. They were spending most of their coordination effort, it appears, stamping this administration, whether it be the Internal Revenue Service with this abuse of power, whether it be Benghazi, an 8-month
But they make it worse.
Stonewall.
This just makes it worse.
Well, they seem only worse because we found out about it.
But how could we not find out about it? She's in charge.
Do you remember the modified limited hangout from the Nixon days where they give you a little piece to keep you away from the main event? Well, this administration is doing exactly that right now, in my opinion.
All right. Lou Dobbs, everybody. There he is, directly ahead.